Aloha Jivas, it's Aloha Friday. I hope you all had a great week so far. We are continuing with our reading of Bhagavad Gita as it is by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupad. We're reading chapter 2, starting with text 54. Stita pragyasya kabasa samhari stasya keshava stita diha kim pravasheta kim ashita vrajeta kim. Arjuna said, "What are the symptoms of one whose consciousness is thus merged in transcendence? How does he speak, and what is his language? How does he sit, and how does he walk?" Purport. As there are symptoms for each and every man in terms of his particular situation, similarly, one who is in Krishna consciousness has a particular nature. Talking, walking, thinking, feeling, etc. As a rich man has his symptoms, by which he is known as a rich man, and a diseased man has his symptoms, by which he is known as diseased, or as a learned man has his symptoms. So a man in transcendental consciousness of Krishna has specific symptoms in various dealings. One can know his specific symptoms from the Bhagavad Gita. Most important is how the man in Krishna consciousness speaks, for speech is the most important quality of any man. It is said that a fool is undiscovered as long as he does not speak, and certainly a well-dressed fool cannot be identified unless he speaks. But as soon as he speaks, he reveals himself at once. The immediate symptom of a Krishna-conscious man is that he speaks only of Krishna and of matters relating to him. Other symptoms then automatically follow as stated below. Text 55. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha. Prajahati yada kaman sarvan parta manogatan atmani evatmana tushtaha stita pragyastha dochyate. The Blessed Lord said, "O Partha, when a man gives up all varieties of sense desire which arise from mental concoction, and when his mind finds satisfaction in the self alone, then he is said to be in pure transcendental consciousness." Purport. The Bhagavatam affirms that any person who is fully in Krishna consciousness or devotional service of the Lord has all the good qualities of the great sages, whereas a person who is not so transcendentally situated has no good qualifications because he is sure to be taking refuge in his own mental concoctions. Consequently, it is rightly said herein that one has to give up all kinds of sense desire manufactured by mental concoction. Artificially, such sense desires cannot be stopped. But if one is engaged in Krishna consciousness, then automatically sense desires subside without extraneous efforts. Therefore, one has to engage himself in Krishna consciousness without hesitation, for this devotional service will instantly help one on to the platform of transcendental consciousness. The highly developed soul always remains satisfied in himself by realizing himself as the eternal servitor of the Supreme Lord. Such a transcendentally situated person has no sense desires resulting from petty materialism. Rather, he remains always happy in his natural position of eternally serving the Supreme Lord. Text 56. Dukeshvanudvigna manaha sukeshu vigata sprihaha vitaraga bhaya krodaha stita dirmunir uchate. One who is not disturbed in spite of the threefold miseries who is not elated when there is happiness, and who is free from attachment, fear, and anger, is called a sage of steady mind. Purport. The word muni means one who can agitate his mind in various ways for mental speculation without coming to a factual conclusion. It is said that every muni has a different angle of vision, and unless a muni differs from other munis, he cannot be called a muni in the strict sense of the term. Naso munir yasya matam na binam. But a stita di muni, as mentioned herein by the Lord, is different from an ordinary muni. The stita di muni is always in Krishna consciousness, for he has exhausted all his business of creative speculation. He has surpassed the stage of mental speculations and has come to the conclusion that Lord Sri Krishna, or Vasudeva, is everything. He is called a muni, fixed in mind. Such a fully Krishna-conscious person is not at all disturbed by the onslaughts of the threefold miseries, for he accepts all miseries as the mercy of the Lord, thinking himself only worthy of more trouble due to his past misdeeds. And he sees that his miseries, by the grace of the Lord, are minimized to the lowest. Similarly, when he is happy, he gives credit to the Lord, thinking himself unworthy of the happiness. He realizes that it is due only to the Lord's grace that he is in such a comfortable condition and able to render better service to the Lord. And for the service of the Lord, he is always daring and active and is not influenced by attachment or aversion. Attachment means accepting things for one's own sense gratification, and detachment is the absence of such sensual attachment. But one fixed in Krishna consciousness has neither attachment nor detachment, because his life is dedicated in the service of the Lord. Consequently, he is not at all angry, even when his attempts are unsuccessful. A Krishna conscious person is always steady in his determination. Text 57. Yaha sarvatrana bishnehas tat tat prapya shubhashubham na binandati na dveshti tasya pragya pratishtita sorry, let me start that one over. Na binandati na dveshti tasya pragya pratishtita. Translation. He who is without attachment, he who does not rejoice when he obtains good, nor lament when he obtains evil, is firmly fixed in perfect knowledge. Purport. There is always some upheaval in the material world, which may be good or evil. One who is not agitated by such material upheavals, who is unaffected by good and evil, is to be understood to be fixed in Krishna consciousness. As long as one is in the material world, there is always the possibility of good and evil, because this world is full of duality. But one who is fixed in Krishna consciousness is not affected by good and evil, because he is simply concerned with Krishna, who is all good, absolute. Such consciousness in Krishna situates one in a perfect transcendental position called, technically, samadhi. Text 58. Yada samharate chayam kurmo ganiva sarvashaha indriyan indriyarte bayas tasya pragya pratishtita. One who is able to withdraw his senses from sense objects as the tortoise draws his limbs within the shell is to be understood as truly situated in knowledge. Purport. The test of a yogi, devotee, or self-realized soul is that he is able to control the senses according to his plan. Most people, however, are servants of the senses and are thus directed by the dictation of the senses. That is the answer to the question as to how the yogi is situated. The senses are compared to venomous serpents. They want to act very loosely and without restriction. The yogi or the devotee must be very strong to control the serpents like a snake charmer. He never allows them to act independently. There are many injunctions in the revealed scriptures. Some of them are do nots and some of them are do's. Unless one is able to follow the do's and the do nots, restricting oneself from sense enjoyment, it is not possible to be firmly fixed in Krishna consciousness. The best example set herein is the tortoise. The tortoise can at any moment wind up his senses and exhibit them again at any time for particular purposes. Similarly, the senses of the Krishna conscious person are used only for some particular purpose in the service of the Lord, and are withdrawn otherwise. Keeping the senses always in the service of the Lord is the example set by the analogy of the tortoise who keeps the senses within. And I'm going to read one more verse because I'm doing a lot of reading because this is all very repetitive of the same thing about controlling the senses. So one more verse here, text 59. Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dahinaha rasa varjam raso piyasya param dristva nivartate. The embodied soul may be restricted from sense enjoyment, though the taste for sense objects remains. But ceasing such engagements by experiencing a higher taste, he is fixed in consciousness. Unless one is transcendentally situated, it is not possible to cease from sense enjoyment. The process of restriction from sense enjoyment by rules and regulations is something like restricting a diseased person from certain types of eatables. The patient, however, neither likes such restrictions nor loses his taste for eatables. Similarly, sense restriction by some spiritual process like Ashtanga Yoga in the matter of yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, etc., is recommended for less intelligent persons who have no better knowledge. But one who has tasted the beauty of the Supreme Lord Krishna in the course of his advancement in Krishna consciousness no longer has a taste for dead material things. Therefore, restrictions are there for the less intelligent neophytes in the spiritual advancement of life. But such restrictions are only good if one actually has a taste for Krishna consciousness. When one is actually Krishna conscious, he automatically loses his taste for pale things. I have personally experienced and know of many others who in their path of Krishna consciousness or Christ consciousness, those people who are on, a spiritual path of wanting to free themselves from attachment to things that are not serving their best interests. Like, we all have addictions to one thing or another. That the more dedicated you are in a spiritual practice, whether it's chanting your Maha Mantra, devotional service, whatever it is, at least for me, it's, having that personal relationship with my Guru and Krishna, and chanting the Maha Mantra has, like this has described, enabled me to give certain things up, attachment to certain things, like no longer desiring certain things almost spontaneously, like without effort, exactly like it says. And no longer having the desire, a taste for it. Now there's a million other addictions that I still need to deal with. But that's just part of the process, and being, I guess, gentle with yourself, and keeping an open heart, and being honest with yourself, and in your communication, with God, and saying, maybe, admitting that you need the help. I mean, this is like the foundation of the 12-step Alcoholics Anonymous program, is having faith in a higher power that you rely on when times are hard, when you need something to lean on, and no one's there, and you're down and out, but you remember that there is a higher spiritual power. Then that helps give you hope, that light at the end of a dark tunnel. So yeah, I mean, that's why Alcoholics Anonymous is so successful for so many people. So what else? I guess as I read this, so many things go through my head that I want to say, and I don't want to really interrupt the reading, but these symptoms of someone who is actually, claiming to have mastered the senses. That's a Goswami. That is, a renunciate, like someone who has perfected the practice. Those people are very rare. The rest of us are, just trying. We're all mostly neophytes, like this says. So, but that's how you can come to recognize those surrendered, self-realized souls, by the symptoms that are described in the Vedas and the Gita. And so I met somebody on the beach today, and he's a Jehovah's Witness, and I have so much respect for anyone that has a strong faith in practicing their spirituality, but not everyone else has those same views. So this Jehovah's Witness was saying how that there's false prophets. The Bible talks about false prophets, and obviously 100% agree, but that's not to say Jesus was the only perfected soul. So if you think about the history, that goes way beyond and before, preceding Christ, and after as well. So you just need to practice discernment and trust your intuition if you do meet someone. And even if someone is not perfect, so many people have important things to teach us, even the wild animals in nature. But anyway, one other thing that he said that I wanted to share is that the truth will set you free. That's a quote from Jesus and the Bible. So I think what is true, you can feel it, at least for me. Something that is true, that I accept as truth, I feel it viscerally in my physical body and my gut, my soul is just a knowing I get that helps to guide me. And we all have that inner radar system, and so that's how we can discern what's true for each and every one of us. It's a very personal journey that we're all on, and so I hope that you all are experiencing an awesome journey yourself. So share any of it in the comments. I'd love to hear about it. And I hope you guys have a great day. Aloha. Hare Krishna.